Hello, I'm Hillary Stone, and today we're tackling a topic that affects every one of us at some point in our careers: dual agency. Understanding the ins and outs of representing both sides of a transaction in Michigan is crucial. So let's dive in. Dual agency occurs when a real estate agent represents both the buyer and the seller in the same transaction. Did you know this also applies to leases? So while it offers an opportunity for streamlined communication and potentially quicker deals, it comes with its own set of challenges and ethical considerations. Once you've signed an agency form, either buyer or seller, there's no downgrading to a transaction coordinator. So your only option is to become a dual agent. There are forms for dual agency, like the Dual Agency Agreement Form PP and the Disclosure Regarding Real Estate Agency Relationships Form K. These documents are essential. They lay out the ground rules, responsibilities, and limitations of your role as a dual agent. As dual agents, our fiduciary duties shift. We move from becoming advocates with undivided loyalty to acting more like intermediaries. I want to share important language from Dual Agency Agreement Form PP. So, as a dual agent of both seller and buyer, salesperson will be working equally for both parties and will provide services to complete the transaction without the full range of fiduciary duties owed by a buyer's agent and a seller's agent. By working with salesperson as a dual agent, buyer and seller are giving up their rights to undivided loyalty and will be owed only limited duties of disclosure, obedience, and confidentiality. Salesperson will prepare and present offers and/or counteroffers at the direction of the seller or buyer. In the preparation of the offers and counteroffers, salesperson will act as an intermediary rather than as an active negotiator for either party. As a dual agent, salesperson will not disclose any information as to either party's motivation. As you can see, engaging in dual agency is not without its risks. The biggest, the potential for conflicts of interest. However, with clear communication, transparency, and by obtaining informed consent from both parties, dual agency can be navigated successfully. It is our job to ensure that both the buyer and the seller understand what they're agreeing to, including the limitations of our role. So here is a step-by-step process. Number 1, identify dual agency early. Recognize the dual agency situation as soon as it arises. Transparency from the get-go is non-negotiable. Both parties need to know what's happening and consent to it. Number 2, consent and documentation. Get written consent using the Disclosure Regarding Real Estate Agency Relationships or the Dual Agency Agreement Form. And for leases, Form K lease. This document explains what you can and can't do, setting clear expectations. Remember, under Michigan law, agency disclosure must take place prior to the disclosure of any confidential information. So this means that dual agency form better be signed by all parties before an offer is written. Number 3, managing confidential information. Be hyper vigilant about confidential info. Remember, motivations, financial limits, or any leverage points, these are off limits for sharing between parties. Number 4, neutral negotiation. Your role in negotiation changes. You are facilitating, you're not advocating. You can provide comparable sales data, but you can't suggest offers or counteroffers. Now you're only preparing and presenting those offers. 5, communication tips. Keep communication clear and documented. If you discuss something significant with one party, make a note of it. This helps maintain fairness and transparency. It also helps if there should ever be any questions of your actions. Number 6, limitations and duties. Understand and communicate your limitations. Dual agency restricts your ability to fully represent either party's interests. Make sure everyone's clear on what those are, and you will have to remind them during the transaction. So let's talk scenarios. Say you're listing a house and a buyer calls you and wants to put in an offer. Before anything else, pull out that dual agency agreement and walk both parties through it. Emphasize the changes in your role and what it means for them. The biggest pitfall? Staying neutral. Every step, every piece of advice, every action you take must be transparent and documented. If there's ever a conflict, your detailed records and upfront communication will be your best defense. All right, agents, your takeaway is this: dual agency demands meticulousness, neutrality, and transparency. Do you have a story where these tips could come in handy, or any additional strategies to share? Leave a comment or reach out. We're all here to learn and grow together.